We all have this a negative self-thought about ourselves that rooted in our mind. That at a certain point we thoroughly think that we need to overcome it.
Negative stuff thought should be negative thoughts. Instead of rooted in our mind, you can say rooted in our minds. And thoroughly think can be strongly believe. Overall, you could say we all have negative thoughts about ourselves that are rooted in our minds. And at a certain point, we strongly believe we need to overcome them. Great job expressing yourself.
When it comes to overcoming our negative self-thought, there is a question that how should we actually remove those things? Because for a longer period of time, those thoughts are embedded in our brain system very strongly. So it actually cannot be removed very easy.
You said, when it comes to overcoming our negative self-thought, there is a question that how should we actually remove those things? Because for a longer period of time, those thoughts are embedded in our brain system very strongly. So it actually cannot be removed very easily. A more natural way to phrase this would be, when it comes to overcoming our negative self-thoughts, the question is how we can actually remove them, because they've been embedded in our minds for so long. It's not easy to get rid of them.
When we consider about this negative self-thought that embedded in our brain system, one of the key concepts that we need to address here is the neuroplasticity. That means for a longer period of time, the activities we are involved with is caused to the belief system on our brain. And according to those influences that we getting from our activities and our exposure, our brain is wired in a certain type of way. That is what actually neuroplasticity means in a nutshell. And would you like to elaborate it for me?
Sure. Neuroplasticity means our brain can change and adapt based on experiences and activities. So over time, what we repeatedly do and think can rewire our brain. This means we can change negative thought patterns by consistently practicing positive ones. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So how does that actually relate with our negative self-perception and the negative self-thought that we are having?
Our brain's ability to change means we can rewire those negative self-perceptions through repeated positive thoughts and actions. By consciously practicing positive self-talk and behaviors, we can gradually shift our mindset and reduce negative thoughts. This is how neuroplasticity can help in overcoming negative self-perception.
Yeah, but it is easier to say than done, according to my opinion. So is there any particular way that we could use to overcome our negative self-talk that we doing repeatedly to ourselves? For example, sometimes even though we try so much hard that we need to overcome this, we ended up failing.
You're to say than do. One effective method is practicing mindfulness, which helps you become more aware of negative self-talk and gradually replace it with positive affirmations. Also, setting small, achievable goals and celebrating progress can help shift your mindset. It's a gradual process, but very effective.
Yeah, but what about the affirmations? Because I heard that affirmations are also good when it comes to changing and wiring our brain into the positive side. But whether it actually affect you, just writing down some positive words will actually affect our brain.
Yes, affirmations can be effective. Repeating positive statements regularly can help rewire your brain by reinforcing positive beliefs. It's important to truly believe in them and repeat them consistently. Over time, they can shift your mindset and reduce negative self-talk. It's like training your brain to focus on the positive.
Yeah, so we talk about the affirmations and what are other methods that actually we can use, apart from the affirmations. I think the affirmations and a positive self-talk is something similar because positive self-talk, we also doing a talking to ourselves in a positive way that certain things will go on our way because we are trying to convince ourselves that things will go in a good way. But don't you think it is, something that a bad side? Because if we start to think, very positively about everything's in our life, will it be affect
It's
to our
great to
life?
stay
Don't you?
positive. Yes, balance is key. Positive thinking is powerful, but it's also important to stay realistic. This way, you can be optimistic while also being prepared for challenges. It's all about finding a healthy middle ground.
Yeah, so middle ground mean, what do you mean by that?
By middle ground, I mean balancing optimism with realism. It's about being hopeful and positive, but also acknowledging reality and preparing for challenges. This way, you maintain a positive outlook while staying grounded.
Yeah. So when it comes to our journey of learning English, sometimes we may have this ambitious goal of I will become fluent in 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year. But the actual result may not be like that. We are sometimes we not be able to speak properly in a certain type of situations, because fluency is something, I believe, is something is really personal one, based on whatever the method that you want to describe it.
That's true. Fluency is a personal journey, and it can take different amounts of time for everyone. Setting realistic goals and celebrating small achievements along the way can keep you motivated. It's about progress, not perfection.
Great. So can you give me the corrected version of what I said earlier?
Sure. Here's a corrected version. When it comes to our journey of learning English, sometimes we may have ambitious goals like becoming fluent in 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year. But the actual result may not always match our expectations. Fluency is personal and depends on various factors. Great job.
Great. So apart from affirmations and positive self-talk, what are the other methods that proven by neuroscience to rewire our brain?
Some other neuroscience-backed methods include practicing mindfulness meditation, which helps increase awareness and reduce negative thinking. Physical exercise also has a positive impact on brain health and mood by releasing endorphins. Additionally, engaging in new and challenging activities can help build new neural pathways, promoting brain plasticity.
Yeah, but don't you think that engaging with new and positive actions will sometime somewhat unrealistic? Because, for example, if a person is keeping thinking about themselves negatively, and there might be a chance he not willing to involve this a new challenging activity because of his negative self perception about himself, and he might be assumed that he are not gonna make it anyway, so what is the point of doing those things?
It's true. Negative self-perception can be a barrier. Starting with small, manageable steps can help build confidence. Gradually taking on new challenges can foster a sense of accomplishment and slowly change one's mindset. It's about taking small, consistent actions that gradually build positive momentum.
So as an AI, what do you think about why humans are keep feeling struggle and facing struggle when it comes to with their mind?
Humans often struggle with their minds because of the complexity of emotions and experiences. Factors like past experiences, societal pressures, and biological predispositions all play a role. Our brains are wired to respond to threats and challenges, which can sometimes lead to negative thinking patterns. However, this also means there's potential for growth and change.
Yeah, so when you mention about our brain is identify, designed to identify the threats and respond to them. So I think the threats mean not just the physical threats. Right now, at this moment in this modern society, we have to face some, virtual threats as well, like the influence that we are getting from social media and the behavior of our peer groups and society, and how other people behave and share their experience. Because right now with the social media influence, it is spreading very rapidly, so we get a lot of influence from other people to do a certain type of things, right?
Absolutely. Our brains respond to both physical and psychological threats, including social pressures and influences from social media. The constant exposure to others' lives can create stress and comparison, which our brains perceive as threats. This can contribute to anxiety and negative thinking patterns. It's important to manage this influence and find ways to stay grounded.
So can you give me the more smoother version of what I said earlier?
Sure, here's a smoother version. When you mentioned our brains are designed to identify and respond to threats, it's not just physical threats anymore. In modern society, we also face virtual threats, like the influence of social media and societal pressures. The rapid spread of information and others' behaviors can create significant psychological stress, impacting how we perceive ourselves and our lives.
How do we actually overcome this societal and psychological pressure that coming from the out of sources that from ourselves like social media, society, family or might be?
To overcome societal and psychological pressure, it's helpful to set personal boundaries and limit exposure to negative influences. Focus on your values and priorities, practice mindfulness to stay grounded, and surround yourself with supportive people. Remember, taking care of your mental health and setting realistic goals can also help build resilience.
So for example, if I keep stress about whenever I see how other people's improve their English journey and the language skills, through the social media, because of that, if I stress out, will it be example for the this type of situation, right?
Yes, that's a common example. It's easy to feel stressed when comparing your progress to others. In such cases, it's helpful to focus on your own journey, set realistic goals, and celebrate small achievements. Limiting social media exposure and reminding yourself that everyone's path is unique can also reduce stress.
Yeah, because I heard that advice a lot. Focus on yourself, but it is the most hardest thing right this moment to do because whenever right now using social media is some kind of a common daily routine of all of our Gen Zs and as well as most of the people on the planet. So it's really hard to only focus on ourselves and our progress and not to think or even a little bit not to think about other people and give a focus to our.
You're right. It can be really challenging, especially with social media being such a big part of daily life. It might help to take small steps, like setting specific times to check social media or practicing gratitude for your own achievements. Gradually, focusing on yourself can become easier and more natural. It's all about progress, not perfection.
So what I was asking is sometimes we have this negative or a false assumption that we getting based on the social media influence. Sometimes we think that everything is going in a good way for other people's, but when it comes to my life, nothing is going the way I expected because we see a lots of moment that shared by other people on social media, the best moment of their life, but we never see their negative side. So we have this false assumption. Uh, we make this false assumption that they are having a really good life, but why not me? Why my life is keep failing and I face such a these troubles every time? Why nothing is going on our way? But if we ask from that question ourselves honestly, we never take a time or we never give any appreciation to the good things that happen to us. Instead of that, we were always doing is complaining to the negative things that happen to ourselves constantly. And it results this mental stress and the negative self-perception on ourselves even more.
You're absolutely right. Social media often creates a distorted reality because people mostly share their highlights, not their struggles. It's easy to fall into the trap of comparing our whole lives to someone else's best moment. This can lead to feelings of inadequacy and frustration. What you said about not appreciating the good things in our own lives is so true. Practicing gratitude and focusing on small, positive moments can help shift our perspective. It's a way to counterbalance the negativity and remind ourselves that our lives have value, even if they don't always look perfect. Would you say this happens to you often, or is it something you've been reflecting on lately?
I think it is both. It happened to me, and I've been reflecting on these emotions as well because I really want to overcome it. And before we go into the next question, can you give me the corrected version of what I said earlier?
Of course. Here's a corrected version of what you said earlier. Sometimes we have negative or false assumptions influenced by social media. We might think everything is going well for others, but when it comes to our own lives, nothing seems to go as expected. This happens because we often see people sharing the best moments of their lives on social media, but we rarely see their struggles or negative side. As a result, we make the false assumption that they have perfect lives, and we ask ourselves, why not me? Why does my life keep failing? Why do I always face these troubles? Why does nothing go my way? But if we reflect honestly, we realize we rarely take time to appreciate the good things in our lives. Instead, we focus on complaining about the negative things that happen to us. This constant negativity leads to mental stress and worsens our self-perception. Feedback. 1. Grammar. Why my life is keep failing? Why does my life keep failing? Why nothing is going on our way? Why does nothing go our way? We never take a time. We never take time. 2. Word choice. Appreciation to the good things. Appreciation for the good things. Complaining to the negative things. Complaining about the negative things. 3. Structure. Breaking long sentences into smaller ones can make the ideas clearer. You express your thoughts very well. Keep practicing and it will feel even more natural.
So, overall, from this discussion, we actually talk about why there are certain type of negative self-thoughts in our mind and how we can overcome them. We discuss about some common methods that are available like a positive self-talk, affirmations, and gratitude. And I also mentioned that there are certain type of barriers like social media. So what is your final opinion about this?
Here's a corrected version of what you said. So, overall, in this discussion, we talked about why certain types of negative self-thought exist in our minds and how we can overcome them. We discussed some common methods like positive self-talk, affirmations, and gratitude. I also mentioned that there are certain barriers, like social media. So, what's your final opinion on this? Feedback. Grammar. We talked about, past tense for consistency. We discussed, know about after discussed. Certain types of, plural for consistency. 2, clarity. Adding pauses or restructuring sentences slightly improves flow. Now, to answer your question, I think overcoming negative self-thoughts requires consistent effort, self-awareness, and patience. While methods like positive self-talk and gratitude are powerful, recognizing and addressing barriers like social equally important. The key is to focus on personal growth rather than comparison. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that is a good approach. What about the influence of social media?
The influence of social media can be quite significant. It offers feelings of inadequacy because people tend to share only the best parts of their lives. This creates an illusion of perfection that's hard to match. To reduce its impact, boundaries, like limiting time spent on social media, curating your feed to follow uplifting content, and reminding yourself that what you see online is not the full picture of someone's life.